sports are really important vehicles for relationships.
We have purpose. We have a why. We bring people together. We connect.
I feel like God is our greatest supporter and our greatest coach.
Welcome to Rabbi on the Sidelines. This is Rabbi Erez Sherman from Sinai Temple in Los Angeles, the podcast where we speak about the intersection of sports and faith. We're in 2025 right now in Los Angeles. Big breaking news right now. The first American Pope was announced, but we are actually looking towards 2028 for the Olympics in Los Angeles. One of those amazing Olympic teams that were in Tokyo a couple of years ago for the first time was Team Israel Baseball, as they had success in the World Baseball Classic. And so this week we are joined by Nate Fish, known as the King of Jewish Baseball. An amazing Jewish journey, an amazing baseball journey, an amazing Israel journey, and an amazing Olympic journey, and former manager of the Savannah Bananas that we want to chat about that as well. Nate, it's great to have you. How are you doing today?
Erez, thank you for having me. Doing well, thanks.
We got to give a big shout out to Danny Cosgrove, Sinai Temple member, who was the first connection here through Israel. So maybe, how do you know Danny through the Maccabiah world in baseball?
Absolutely, the best hitting urologist on the West Coast.
we'll tell his brother, the best rabbi on the East Coast, that as well.
Exactly. I know Danny through. I've played obviously with the Israel national team for many years, but also with Team USA for the Maccabi games, and so we've been teammates and friends for many years. One of the true mensches in that program. That
is very true, and actually he brought me back an awesome dry fit Maccabi softball jersey from the last games. Nice. So instead of writing lots of questions, I simply wrote Jewish journey, baseball journey, Israel journey, Olympic journey. There's so many journeys, but one thing that you mentioned in a different podcast that I wanted to dive into through your Jewish journey is that your mom, you said publicly, would have been a rabbi if she could have been ordained in the 1970s, which was not allowed at that time. And so instead she brought that rabbi stuff home, creating a Jewish home. Tell about your mom's influence of your Jewish journey for the rabbi that she could have been.
Yeah, she was our household rabbi instead of leading a congregation. Sure. My mom is from Newton, Massachusetts. Very, classic Jewish town in the Northeast. My dad as well is from the Bronx, so classic Jewish neighborhood in New York City. So from these two historically Jewish places, Bronx in New York and Newton in Massachusetts. She ended up going to Brandeis for undergrad, and they both moved to Vermont, where me and my sister were born. So they moved from very Jewish places to a place that was not very Jewish at all, and we had to create our own little Jewish universe at home. And so my mom channeled a lot of that, rabbinic energy into the household. We were not traditionally really observant, but we did Shabbat, lit candles on Friday nights. We would study together on Saturdays, which was really a special memory. And all the books and the pictures and the jokes, and every time the credits played after a film, we're looking for Jewish names. It just sort of was very pervasive, like it is for many Jewish families. She also returned to Brandeis University when I was 10 years old to go to the Hornstein program in Jewish communal services. That ended up bringing us to Cleveland, where she worked at the Jewish Federation and was then the executive director for Hillel at Case Western University. So in some ways, I see my work now running a Jewish nonprofit organization as an extension of her life work in Jewish communal services, which is something I'm really proud of.
So you interviewed a different Cleveland Jew about baseball a couple of years ago, Jeff Passan from ESPN.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, he told the story when he was growing up in his synagogue, having the little radio under his sleeve to make sure that the Yom Kippur sermon was not interfering with the Indians at the time, but a Guardians game as well. And Jeff obviously had success in baseball as well. And so maybe tell us about the sports journey as well, because growing up in a small town, it's different than playing baseball here in Beverly Hills Little League. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think I was actually lucky when we moved to Cleveland at a time. I was 12 years old, and it sort of was life changed a lot. It was going to change anyways for a 12-year-old. Yes. But I had sports opportunities that I would not have had if we had stayed in New England. As a young person, just a baseball fan, I just gravitated towards it even before memory. I have lots of photos of myself running around with a bat and ball. wearing a helmet, whatever, just being very, very sort of almost hyperactive and very into baseball. First game was at Fenway.
Nice.
As a New Englander. So that's an amazing memory. And I sort of committed my life to baseball almost instantaneously at my first big league game. I think a lot of people have this very strong reaction to walking into a big league stadium for the first time. Billy Crystal, who's a big time Jewish baseball fan, I think describes this experience in City Slickers in the movie as besides when his children were born, as the greatest moment in his life. So, like a lot of kids, loved my first big league game and was like, I'm going to be a Major League Baseball player, and just sort of committed myself to that. It turns out I was not a Major League Baseball player. My path in baseball has been very windy and has taken me all over the world, but it's been my life. And so that commitment that I've had for the last 40 years to the game from that first experience has taken me, to amazing places and all over the world, many times over now.
So the third part about that is the Israel journey. And actually just want to mention, you said going to the big league for the first stadium. One of my first guests on this show was Dan Schulman now with the Blue Jays, playing the Angels out here. So we got a chance to see him a couple nights ago. Took my kids there, and our kids caught their first batting practice ball, which was awesome. They're like sleeping with it every night and bringing it to school. So
amazing.
Totally resonates seeing that Lador Vador moment, generation passed down of the joy of America's greatest pastime as well. And so, it's usually the Jewish and the sports journey, but the Israel journey, specifically through baseball, because it's not necessarily Israel's sport, doesn't come up often. And so what was the first entry into that world? Because a little later, we'll talk about Israel Baseball America, which basically combines all of your passions into one.
Yeah. So growing up, there's this spectrum of how strong of a Jewish identity we have on Team Israel. Some guys, being on the team is really what their Jewish identity is based on entirely. And for others, there's quite a strong, Jewish education and Jewish identity. I'm probably a little bit closer to that side of the spectrum. So growing up, I identified really, really strongly as a Jewish kid, especially in a place where there were not many other Jewish kids or families. And I identified as a baseball player. I was sort of a prime candidate for Israel baseball, especially as I got, into high school and college and was getting better and taking the game more seriously. But there was no such thing. There wasn't really no organization for me as a Jewish kid and a baseball player to sort of be a part of. So I'm very proud to do that now for the next generation of kids. So yeah, it's really this intersection of the two. Many people that I talk to and hear from now say when we start talking, these are the two most important components of their identity, that they're a baseball fan or player or coach or whatever, and that they're Jewish. And so Israel Baseball gives us an organization and a place to be both of those things at the same time with other people that share those common components of our identity. But it didn't really come together. I played high school baseball, played college baseball, didn't get drafted out of college, moved to New York City and started coaching. And it wasn't until 2007, right after that period in my life where I wasn't really sure what to do. I was coaching baseball. I was still in school. That thank goodness, a gentleman named Larry Barris from Boston decided to try to bring professional baseball to Israel. And he started the Israel Baseball League. The league was a disaster, unfortunately for Larry.
Not many fields there.
Yeah, there just wasn't none of the infrastructure. You need fans, you need facilities. So it was the league failed, but it set this chain of events into motion for me. Being with Team Israel at the World Baseball Classic in 2012, eventually making Aliyah, moving to Israel in 2013, working as the executive director for Israel Baseball in Israel. The 2017 World Baseball Classic, the qualifying for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, which was a miracle, and now working. Israel Baseball has really become my life's work. Working as the CEO for the new organization, Israel Baseball Americas, and now managing the national team. So, I've been with the team for over 15 years as a player, coach, and now as an executive.
So many different avenues to go there. You said it was a miracle. Why was it a miracle? I think about the Jamaican bobsled team. Was that the comparison? Was it because we didn't think we could? Like, literally, what defines miracle in that moment?
So Israel is basically the only team in international baseball in the last 10 plus years that's gone from the bad group into the good group. So when I started playing for the national team, we were ranked 47th in the world. We played at the C pool of the European Championships, was in these very, very low level tournaments. And we were sort of, nowhere as far as international baseball goes. We've been able to sort of climb the ladder and get into the top 20 and go to the World Baseball Classic a few times and qualify for the Olympics, thanks to these three very improbable runs that we've gone on. In 2017, when we qualified for the World Baseball Classic, we won 4 games in a row, and really kind of erupted onto the scene. I think that's when most of the people that are aware of Israel baseball first sort of encountered us. Amazing experience. We won the first round of the tournament and then played Japan in the Tokyo Dome in the second round. In 2019, that was the second very improbable sort of miraculous run that we went on, which was qualifying for the Olympics. So through the C pool, through the B pool, through the A pool, into the Olympic qualifier, and then winning the Olympic qualifiers. Only one team from Europe and Africa as a combined group made it to the Olympics. Only 6 teams qualified. So Eric Holtz, who was managing that team, I actually was not with. That was the one summer I was not with the team. I was with the Dodgers that year.
Oh.
I couldn't get the time off. But Holtzy, who was managing that team, says if we had to do that again, 1,000,000 times, it wouldn't happen. Just there was so much weird stuff happening, and I was watching and staying in touch with the guys. Just rollovers. First baseman makes an error, like Bill Buckner style, walk off. Just so many improbable things happening to allow the team to win that many games and that many tournaments to finally qualify. And the third unlikely run that we went on was after the Olympics in 2021 in the European Championships. We won 5 games in a row and won a silver medal. And so, thanks to those 3 experiences, we've sort of transitioned from bad to good.
And so what does it feel like to represent Israel as a kid who grows up in the diaspora on that medal stand? I just told you a couple of days ago, I had a wonderful meeting with the El Arad, the head of the Israeli Olympic Committee. And she says, like, sports leads to diplomacy. Was there any, and we'll talk about this a little later, pre-October 7th, post-October 7th, you've been through this baseball team, and talent, right? One of the guys who visited Sinai this past year was Ryan Lavarnway, who basically, unlike you, discovered his Judaism through baseball. Take us to a guy like Ryan, who, World Series catcher with the Red Sox, and he tells a story where he didn't make the American team, got on the Israeli team. They called him back, and he said, sorry, I have my jersey. I'm home in Israel. What does a story like Ryan's really mean to Israel, to the baseball team, and to Jews in America?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start sort of from the perspective of the players, a guy like Ryan coming out of professional baseball. And for many of our guys, Varney included, Team Israel really represented like a second baseball life. Honestly, me too. I didn't play in the big leagues like those guys did, but it like gave me this whole other path into, and this whole other life into professional baseball, and all these amazing experiences. So many of our guys are sort of fringy big leaguers, and they're up and down and journeymen and bouncing around. Ryan comes to mind. Josh Zide, who's still with the organization, comes to mind. All of these guys that were with us through this run that I've been describing extended their careers way beyond, I think what they ever expected, mostly just to keep preparing to play for Israel. So, hey, I'll grind it out another year in indie ball or, AAA, sign a minor league contract just so I can get ready to play for Israel again in September. Wow. And then they get to step into our team, on our environment, and they're the leaders. So they're in a big league clubhouse. There may be a guy that's not as well known. They're coming in, they're coming out. For us, I mean, those are the best guys on the field, and they really get to lead, and they get to feel at home. And we have a lot of stories like that. And so Team Israel is a really special home for many of our guys from that generation of players. From the perspective of the fans, I mean, there's nothing that we can do on an organizational level that's as powerful as just having like a superstar guy go out there and just be himself and have kids just see them do what they do in those environments in the World Baseball Classics or walking into the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. You know, it's very hard for us to have that kind of impact that a superstar athlete can have just by being themselves and being on the field and kids seeing it like I did and being like, I just want to be like that when I grow up, you know?
And I just heard again, actually speaking to Dan Schulman the other day, that Alex Bregman, who was visiting the Blue Jays with the Red Sox just a couple of days ago, took time out of his busy schedule pregame to actually go to the Nova exhibit in Toronto with Dan. And that was very meaningful to him. He's wearing the Magen David on his hat during the playoffs last year. Who's your wish list for those big guys that hopefully post October 7th to realize it's not just a stepping stone to extend their career, but it's actually an entry into a family for life of the Jewish community?
Yeah, I think we're sort of in roster construction mode for the 2026 World Baseball Classic, and there you don't have to be the general manager of a big league team to know who we would like to have on that team. I mean, we certainly have the wish list, and it's the same guys that everyone I think is wishing for. Bregman is one of them. Max Fried is one of them. You know, we have amazing opportunities. Harrison Bader just announced he's going to play for us last week.
Well, what's the process to getting a guy like Harrison? Was there convincing? Was it like, what does that look like?
Yeah, we have our extended roster now, and you just go through one at a time. You say, oh, this guy knows him, or this guy knows his agent, or I know the pitching coach on this team. We can talk, and it's just this puzzle. You have to sort of figure it out. So it's this combination of the coaching staff, front office, and the scouting department that kind of cobble together this extended roster and then get into the communications part and getting a commitment from the player, the team, the agent, and just starting to have the conversations and tracking those conversations. So it's an interesting and long process. Yeah.
And then you said you moved to Israel for 3 years. A lot of these guys, Ryan, Zach Penpraise, etc., they didn't move, but they made Aliyah. But what was your experience literally living in Israel as an immigrant, both challenges and achievements I had never lived in Israel besides my over 20 visits. So what were those 3 years like? And really, did you get the Israeliness in you?
Yeah, yes and no. I was always sort of the American. I lived in Yaffo, in Jaffa.
Oh, beautiful.
Amazing neighborhood. I was always sort of the funny American guy walking around, refusing to speak Hebrew. I did go to Ulpan. So I made Aliyah in 2013 and started playing for the national team then and working as the executive director for Israel baseball in Israel. I worked a lot. We had really ambitious. I was the first full-time employee for the organization, just to give you an idea of the size and the scale of the organization in Israel. So to do that work, I had to travel a lot. So I got to know the country very, very well. I drove north, I drove south. I was, would deliver the equipment and run the sessions and go into the schools. I did sort of learn a bit of a script so I could do an intro in schools, at gym classes in Hebrew. So I kind of spoke like baseball Hebrew. It was a really interesting time. I was unfortunately there in 2014. Yeah, exactly. In the previous sort of largest conflict that had happened before October 7th. So I got that experience for 6 weeks that summer, hearing air raid sirens, hiding in stairwells, and jumping out of the car and going into shelters or wherever we could get to. So have a bit of a reference for that experience. And we made a lot of progress. I have really, really fond memories. I've been to Israel many, many, many times. I've been back since then a few times as well to, visit the kids. Many of the kids that I coached then as 12 and 13 and 14-year-olds are now national team players that I coach on the under 23 team and the senior national team. So I've got to see and help a whole generation of Israeli kids. We currently have 12 Israeli kids playing college baseball in the U.S.
12 Israeli citizens playing college baseball in the U.S.
Sabras,
and that's because of Team Israel bringing baseball to Israel.
Yeah, I mean, there's this amazing sort of cultural exchange component. We just had 4 guys make Aliyah this year already, so they can play for the national team.
Wow.
Hopefully, we'll have 2 more in June, and that's a class of 6 guys, American guys in professional baseball who made Aliyah. And we have the Israeli kids coming to the U.S. to train and play and eventually play college baseball here. So
no way.
Really successful generation of kids coming out of, literally nowhere, 6,000 miles away. It's the baseball desert of the world. To have these amazing experiences, get to go to college in the U.S. and play college baseball. So we're trying to keep that pipeline going both ways. We want about 5 guys making Aliyah every year, and we want to keep that pipeline of Israeli kids coming to the U.S. Cool, yeah.
So then talk about the pre-October 7th, post-October 7th. What were the changes that you have seen, not necessarily in baseball, but in either, we talk about the post-October 7th surge of interest of Jews to Israel. Did the surge happen in the Team Israel world where they say, you know what, I can engage with Israel through sports and not necessarily politics?
Yeah, both. It changed everything, including our team and our organization. We were actually together competing in the 2023 European Championships in the Czech Republic the last week in September.
Oh, wow.
So we had just been together. We, Rosh Hashanah happened during the tournament. So our game, ironically, against Germany that the night, many of the guys on the team had fasted. We broke the fast in the dugout, blew the shofar, and then played Germany that night. And we thought that was sort of the kind of monumental experience of the tournament. Unfortunately, the team, a week later, the team chat started lighting up with, "Hey, are you seeing what's going on?" I didn't, like many people, didn't realize how serious it was right at first. Very, very soon after October 7th, one of the things that changed was we produced a short video with most of the Jewish big leaguers, just coming out and openly proclaiming that they're Jewish, and just making that statement. Most Jewish guys during their big league careers, it's sort of a hard life. You don't want to make it any more complicated by being very outspoken about your culture or politics or anything like that. So historically, most of the Jewish guys in the big leagues, they're just big league football players. They just kind of blend in. But we had this amazing response from Bregman and many other guys that were on the thread, replying to this request immediately, just coming out and sharing a video saying, "I'm a Jew, I'm standing up and being counted." And so there was a willingness almost right away from our player pool to come out and support. But it also made it started getting questions about, hey, are we going to be safe? I mean, we're going this summer. We're competing in Holland, in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands, not far from Amsterdam, about an hour away from where the Maccabi Tel Aviv protest happened just a few months ago. So there's more of a willingness to come together and stand and be counted, but there's also more curiosity from our players if we're going to be safe and what the security concerns are. So it's changed everything, especially in the Jewish world, for us as well.
And so Israel, baseball, America, that one title puts it all together. Baseball took you that way, and now baseball is sort of taking you this way with bringing that over here. What are the missions? What are the goals of Israel Baseball America? I know, I don't know if you know Brad Eisen, but I know he's been trying to get some clinics going here. What are the goals of that to now bring Israel baseball back to our children here?
Yeah, I know Brad well, of course. He directs our showcase division, so focuses a lot on high school players throughout the U.S. So the last 10 years have been great for us, And this small organization in Israel that I worked for when I lived there sort of outkicked our coverage. And we've gotten to a point now where if we're going to make the next 10 years and the next 20 years and the next 30 years as successful and sort of maintain the momentum, we had to launch an organization in the North American market and sort of transition some of the operations from Israel to the US, where there's more resources, there's more demand, quite frankly, for the brand, and all of our guys that are working in professional baseball can contribute to the success of the organization. So in 2024, about a year ago, we launched Israel Baseball Americas, and there's these two organizations working together to operate the brand. I think from the consumer's perspective, for the fans, that doesn't really matter so much. It's still one brand. It's Israel Baseball. But there's the organization in Israel doing all the grassroots baseball development there, and there's the organization in the US supporting them, doing the scouting and player development for the World Baseball Classic team in the Olympics, the business development, the media and merchandising, all the stuff that they need support. And so we've gone from being a volunteer organization to being a professional baseball organization. I think that's fundamentally the shift. It's very hard to control culture and to make, baseball sort of penetrate the mainstream of Israeli society. It's somewhat easier to just bring the brand to where there's already a market for it. So that's part of the thinking also. There's amazing enthusiasm in the States for Israel baseball. We do tons of community programming. People come out to film screenings and speaking appearances that we do. We do amazing amateur programming, camps and clinics for kids 6 to 18 years old. And then obviously the high level representation when we're on television and people coming out to the games and giving the Jewish communities everywhere a team to really root for.
So take us through something called the Mensch on the Bench. It became sort of a very important part of that baseball team. Where did that start? And maybe that was the miracle that got us through all the rules.
Shout out to Cody Decker for the Mensch on the Bench. I think Mensch on the Bench had been on Shark Tank. If I look, this is not really my story to tell, but I'm going to try to piece it together for you guys. Mensch on the Bench had been on Shark Tank, I think, earlier that year. We were invited in 2016 to qualify for the World Baseball Classic, and Cody contacted Mensch on the Bench, and he brought just one of the little dolls, and we had it in the dugout with us. We won the qualifier. And when we went to Korea for the first round of the actual tournament the following spring, so now the spring of 2017, Cody had this like life-size Mensch on the Bench with him. And so we had him in the dugout with us. Deck had him in the post-game interviews and he just sort of became our mascot. So we might have to bring it back next time. Yeah.
Well, if you need a rabbi on the bench, you know where to go as well. It can be life-size right from Los Angeles here. Something you did outside of Israel baseball was a very interesting baseball venture called the Savannah Bananas. I read a little about that, and you were the first manager for them. What was different about this team called the Savannah Bananas? Was that a success, or do you think that was just sort of a fad in time?
No, I think they're beyond fad status. I think they are selling out. I think they just sold out Clemson, which was 81,000 people, the football stadium.
Wow.
Yeah. And they sold out a couple NFL stadiums and many major league stadiums. So I think they're here to stay. And I was lucky to get the opportunity. So I'm very, very good friends with the two guys that are managing the team now. Tyler Gillum, who I coached in the Cape Cod League with.
Nice.
And then Tyler sort of brought me down there, and I brought Adam Virant with me, who's a very good friend and good baseball coach. And I moved on to keep working on Israel baseball after 2021. But the two of them are still down there coaching the team and running the baseball operations. So I'm still, communicating with them a lot, cheering for them.
And what exactly is Savannah Bananas? Like, tell everybody what makes it different from
normal
baseball?
The Jesse Cole, I think he's probably a good place to start in telling the story, is the founder and owner of the team. They were a Coastal Plains League team, a summer collegiate baseball team, and they started doing very entertaining stuff. A lot of minor league teams and summer college teams try to do entertainment between innings, but they were taking it to another level even. And Gillum was telling me, this dude Jesse has these ideas for rule changes. We can't do it because we're in a summer collegiate league. You can't just change the rules of baseball. But eventually they left the Coastal Plains League and became an independent professional baseball team and implemented all these rule changes. No bunting, no walks, time limits. The way that we kept score was different.
No walks? What does that mean? What happens after 4 balls?
So 4 balls, it's not a walk, it's a sprint. I can't even remember all the rule changes, but it's a sprint where the batter base runner can get as far as they can around the bases, and every player on the defense has to touch the ball, and then it becomes live. So all 9 guys have to touch the ball.
Oh my God.
It becomes live, and if you have the guy hung up between one of the bases, you can record an out, or he can stop at second, stop at third, whatever. So it's a lot. Basically, it takes a walk and it turns it into this sort of scramble.
Wow, it's different than the pitch clock.
Yeah, a little bit different. Yeah, these were like extreme rule changes. If a fan caught a foul ball, batter was out.
Really?
So and they're just really like amazing at the media part, the business part, creating demand, making it really fun for the fans. So like it's been amazing to watch them.
And so maybe just share Team Israel or Israel Baseball America, what we can do to help you and bring more of Israel to us. As I like to say, not just the intersection of sports and faith, but beyond the ball. But the ball is this universal language. It does bring us together.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. Just thinking about the nonprofit world and the world of organizations and missions, and we have such an incredible indirect impact, just doing what we do, just being in the World Baseball Classic, in the Olympics. There's amazing impact that we can have. I think what people can do is, first of all, be ambassadors of the team and of the brand and follow along. So, visit the website, israelbaseball.org, get your customized Team Israel jersey. Nice. Be that person at the dinner table talking about the World Baseball Classic and talking about the team and following on social media. Just be a part of this community of Israel baseball and follow along closely. Obviously, we need money to keep the train rolling, and we have competitive goals, and we have pipeline goals for the amateurs, and we have cultural goals and the kind of impact that we want to have, and it's all supported by our financial goals. So I think at the very highest level, if anyone's interested in supporting the organization, you can do that on the website. You can email team@israelbaseball.org for more information. But really just be a fan, be an ambassador, and just be a part of the community.
And so for these last few years, we've been saying Am Yisrael Chai. Is there an Am Yisrael Chai message that you have from Team Israel for all of us that are watching today?
Yeah. I think considering the context and the timing, we're really proud to give Jewish communities in Israel and in the U.S. A team to root for and just rally around, and something to feel really good about. A little bit of escapism, maybe. Feel good about the team, root for the team, just have a really positive impact. So that's the kind of spirit that we're trying to spread and bring people into, really, something that's really positive, and brings Jews together, but also brings Jews together with the whole rest of the world.
Yes.
And that's the kind of spirit that we want to have when we're on the field, every day when we're just doing our work.
That is so true. We are honored to be in conversation with the king of Jewish baseball, Nate Fish, really learning the ins and outs of Israel baseball, of Israel Baseball America, and that ball that really binds all of us as well. Nate, is wonderful to have you. We look forward to supporting you on your way to LA 2028. We are here waiting for that team in Dodger Stadium. We know there will be lots of Israeli flags and lots of not just Jews, but really lots of people supporting the Team Israel, because it's well beyond the ball of what that represents for the entire world. It's wonderful to have you on the show, and we look forward to partnering in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.